Welcome back to I'd Lather Be Shaving. I'm Douglas Smythe of PhoenixShaving.com. To my right is
Pisarcik, Razor Emporium.
What is with the accent?
I don't know. I'm in the safari. I'm going with it.
This certainly is turning into a Shave Safari! So today, folks, we'll be looking at all things animal byproduct and animal this, animal that. Animals that make up the wet shaving world as we know it.
Let's get furry.
I gotta go.
Ah! Badger!
It's a Shave Safari.
Safari.
Okay, I got nothing here. Welcome back, folks. As we mentioned in the intro, we'll be talking about all things Shave Safari. And what is a Shave Safari, man?
We are talking about the animals that make up the wet shaving world. So we don't even think about it maybe, but wet shaving is actually kind of a cruelty-induced hobby. Meaning there's a lot of things about shaving that have to do with animal products. And not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I love animal products. But it should be noted, what animals are these and where do they come from?
That's true. There are a lot of animal products and byproducts used in shaving these days. There's also a lot of vegan products to use. So I mean, there's a balance. But that said, man, I mean,
Is it the circle of life? The circle of life.
imagine this to be a tiny little tiger, lion.
And
What is
it
he?
was a song. Okay.
Anyways, so splash of the day, Yardley Black Label. A lot of you know of this. Do you know of this?
No.
Yardley Black Label is just, man, this is such a classic scent.
Did you pick it because it says Yardley, like we're out like in the yard, like?
I didn't, but there is actually a connection with our Shave Safari.
It looks like whiskey. It looks like a little like.
This came out in 1967.
I like it.
And it was actually, the commercials had the monkeys in it. So
Hey!
Exactly, those monkeys.
Some guys have it, some guys never will. Some guys have it, some guys never will. Yardley, Black Label, Yardley, he's able.
It's the whole scene when you splash on Yardley Black Label, the new aftershave that's really out of sight. Be the guy who's got it all. Black Label, get it.
I got enough for you too.
No, I already, I do myself.
Yes, you do.
Well, look, I'm gonna get back to you on how this dries down at the end of the episode. But
It smells good.
bergamot,
I feel like I'm in character
lemon,
now.
orange, lemon verbena, lavender, geranium, rosewood, clary sage,
Got up geranium.
vetiver, sandalwood, patchouli, and oak moss, folks, all in this tiny
It's
little
a kitchen
bottle.
sink.
And it really, truly is a classic 60s scent. I mean, granted, the monkeys were advertising it, but it was, I think,
No, it smells really good.
it's a very mature scent as well.
not so,
classic
like, in your
barbershop,
face.
if you will. It's got that same, like, it's in there with I
like
don't
English
know.
leather kind
English
of.
leather, clubman.
But it doesn't have so much like spice in your face.
Yeah, it's
More subdued.
It's very nice. And however, we just splashed it on. We'll be maybe commenting on this as the dry down transpires.
So, the number one product that I think every wet shaver has to swallow in terms of taking on an animal product is a badger brush. I think that everyone, like, you hear, like, okay, so is that an actual badger brush? And then the second follow-up question, does it smell? Does it stink? Does it smell like a wet, furry dog? I mean, you
Or
read
badger.
that. Well, yeah. But, I mean, not everyone has smelled a wet, furry badger. Usually wet, furry dogs. But I digress.
Unless they're cat owners.
So in terms of shaving brushes, there's 3 or 4 really popular options on the scene today. The number one popular option that has been this way since the 1910s, maybe even earlier, 1800s, is badger hair. Now, badger hair has many different grades. There's no international badger grading commission that actually sets what these grades are. They really can be ruled down to like 3 real grades, and it just happens to do with the body. Did you know these?
Yeah, different parts of the body that the hair is taken from.
Right. So you have like body hair, which is the most common and the most,
Especially for him.
Yeah, no. The most amount of volume of hair is going to come from the body, and it's usually called black badger or best badger or mixed badger. All these different terms are synonymous for really just kind of the basic grade badger hair, and it's good. It's very good. We sell a lot of badger, black badger brushes. I mean,
The better the name, the better the badger sells.
yeah, the blacker the better.
Once you go, no.
Okay. Then you're gonna move into like the white badger hair, the silver tip hair, and this is stuff that's more around the neck area, the throat area, and this is gonna be stuff like this with the silver tips, premium badger, super fine badger, all that kind of stuff, and they're really nice. Like it's nice,
It is nice.
And then, there's also like ultra new high grades that Plisson and WSP have come out with, like high mountain white. Now this is looking at the silver tip itself and going for like the best of the silver tip. But to me, I just think of a couple grades, body hair, the neck hair, stuff like that. But one important note about badger knots, not all badger knots are created equal. There is no international commission on standards. You always want to...
You already said that.
I know, but I'm telling you a case in
We're
point.
reinforcing that.
You always want to fan through your brushes. Number one thing, if you look at a cheap brush, fan through it, because most times you'll find fillers. Meaning, it's not all badger hair. The dirty little secret about cheap badger brushes, the reason you can get them so cheap, is because they're filled with other kinds of hair, namely goat hair, camel hair, horse hair, sometimes even boar hair. They're all tied in, seriously.
Yeah.
And you'll see these big, like, straggly black hairs, and they're just stiff and wired, and you're like, what is that? Well, you may have a cheap brush. Sorry.
But now I think people are getting a little more honest with this. They call them mixed bristle brushes. I have seen that.
And
that probably means that the knots are really bad. They can't get away with saying it.
The other deceptive thing about the badger industry is that there are a lot of companies that make badger brushes, and a lot of companies are located in England or France or United States, and I gotta tell you, everyone, the really dirty, honest secret here. To my knowledge, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe all badger hair comes from Asia, the Orient. It all comes from Korea. It comes, that's where it's bought as loose pellets, and then it's processed through China, that's where it's turned from a pellet into a knot. And then most companies buy them from China, and they put them in a handle they may make in some fancy country, but it's not actually from that country. In fact, if you look at the laws, you really only have to say that the last step of manufacturing, i.e. gluing the handle and the knot together, you can now say that's made in England. With English laws, that's how it is. If you glue the knot from China into an English handle, it's made in England. In the United States, it's different. We can't say that. It has to be a majority of the process.
However, we can say made in America and have it done in South America or Central America. So keep that in mind, folks.
Yes. But that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with the quality. In fact, all of these animal products, I can tell you, no one's raising badgers for badger brushes. It's badger brushes come from badger meat. So China consumes a lot of badger meat, so does Korea, and so they're raising them for that purpose. And this byproduct comes about it. Like, hey, let's use the pelt, just like the leather industry. No, cows are not raised just for their leather; they're raised for their beef, and we use the leather, so we use the whole animal.
Pretty much, when we said at the beginning that animal byproducts are used in shaving, it truly is byproducts that we just the scraps that were thrown to the wet shavers, bringing us to tallow.
Well, I wanted to finish brushes.
God.
Oh, yes. So, there back in the day, there actually used to be English, badger hair. That was a real thing. I would say it probably went away like in the 50s, 60s. And it went away because they had a pest control problem with a lot of vermin, a lot of rats, and a lot of,
Snakes.
critters. And so they ended up bringing all these and breeding a bunch of foxes to help take care of this problem naturally. Well, unfortunately, the foxes went after all the badgers too. So they basically eliminated all of their native badger population, kind of like they eliminated most of their trees a long time ago. So they don't have a lot of those natural resources anymore. Sorry to say. But I digress. Another animal product, so in the world of brushes, the second most common, I would say, would be a boar hair brush. And there's a lot of great examples, like Omega makes them, what's that boar brand? Yeah, Simoke. Sorry, just totally had a mind fart. From Portugal, and these hairs are a lot stiffer than badger hair. They're sometimes called bristle hair or natural bristle hair. Again, these pigs are not being raised for brushes. I don't think there's enough of a demand. They're being raised for their meat, and this is just a byproduct. All boar hair is the exact same. There's not different grades of boar hair. If someone they all are bleached, by the way. That's how you get this real natural blonde look. It's all bleached, and then they may do artificial coloring to make it look like badger. They may color like a stripe across it, but it's all the same grade. There's not different grades of boar. All you have to look at with the boar brush is how tall the loft is. That's really the only determinant. That's going to maybe be a stiffer, experience or less stiff.
Yeah.
Speaking of, so moving right along. Did you have anything to comment on the boar hair brush?
I did. It's one of my favorites, in fact. And I've mentioned this many times before. Out of all the brushes, I think it's. Actually, I have nothing to say about that.
Okay. Well, boar hair brushes are great. I love them a lot. If you have ingrown hairs, they're super great because they're stiff and these little ends split and curl, and they do a great job of hooking out ingrown hairs.
I do want to say something about it. The great thing about a boar brush is it's great for face shavers and bowl shavers. Once it's broken in, it's really, I think it's great on the face.
Oh yeah.
And the backbone for mixing up something in a bowl or a scuttle is awesome.
Yeah, if you have more of like oily skin or if you need to exfoliate your skin more, I'd say a boar's hair brush is always a great option. So kind of in the middle of these two universes is the horsehair brush.
George.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of brands that make them. This is a Vilong brush out of Spain. I don't even know of any other brands. In fact, I've been asked before, can we source knots, horsehair knots? I don't even know where to get a horsehair knot. I think Vilong is the only name in town for horsehair brushes. And again, this is coming from the mane clippings and the tail clippings, and I don't believe the animals have anything to do with being killed in this process.
No, if you're vegan, this is actually ethically collected.
Right. Now, horses are consumed in Europe as meat. In Italy and Spain, they do consume them. So they could come from that industry, but you can take a clipping without having to skin the animal.
But that are known
We
for.
have a written confirmation from Vilong that there is a cruelty-free process.
There you go. And so yeah, if like Douglas said, if you are someone who is concerned about animal rights, this is a great option. And it does have a lot of the characteristics of badger and boar kind of put together. It has more backbone than badger, and it's kind of scrubby like boar, so it is a good kind of hybrid.
If boar or badger is Paul McCartney and boar is John Lennon, this is George Harrison.
Fair comparison. I like that.
Thank you.
Very good.
Just the voices, because sometimes you think, is that John or is that Paul? It's typically George when you're in questioning. So it's the same thing with the brushes, I believe. I've mentioned this a few times, but that's all I got. But let us not forget this, Matt.
Yeah, so there's one more thing in the world of shaving. What is this exactly? It's not badger though.
No, it's Ifu.
What's Ifu?
Afuju.
Cut it out. Oh my god. So as Douglas said, this is synthetic hair.
In so many words.
Yeah, and this is literally a modified makeup brush. It comes from the same industry. The same companies that make makeup brushes make synthetic brushes. They've gotten a lot better.
A lot better.
I mean,
dramatically better.
If you look at an old synthetic nylon brush from the 60s or 70s,
or even older, from the 30s,
they're horrible.
It's like fiber optics.
It looks like fiber optic, yeah. Now they've gotten smart, and the actual tips do what a natural hair does. They get more narrow, they're more pointy at the end, and this is extremely soft. So if you are someone who likes a super, super soft brush, synthetic is the way to go.
I don't know if I mean, they're pretty solid backbone. I'd compare them more.
No, the tips are soft.
Oh, the tips are soft,
When you fan through it, I mean, it's softer than even badger.
This is all I use nowadays is synthetic knots.
Yeah, and I know a lot of guys who love it.
And again, as Matt was saying, you'll see brushes from China or wherever stating and people assume they're made in China. Though a lot of these brushes are coming out of China, the knots are not made in China. They're made in South Korea.
Yeah.
South Korea is the one responsible for all the
Makeup
scents you see.
brushes.
Yeah.
They've gotten really good, and so it is a
Really
petroleum
good.
product, more or less. It's a plastic product, but they're amazing, and they come a long way, and I think they're worth a place on the table next to all these other brushes.
Definitely, or the shelf.
Yeah. So we did talk about some of the animals over here with brushes. Another popular thing that you're going to be faced with in the world of shaving is your decision of shaving soap. Now, there's a lot of soap makers out there, like Douglas.
There's no one like me.
Yeah, you're right. who have gone the vegan soap way, and I really commend that. And I think it's awesome. I think most soap products work great without any animal additives. However, some people love to have whether it's sheep fat or cow stearic acid, tallow.
No, stearic acid is not.
But they will come from steer, right?
That's a big misconception that I never heard of.
So yeah, there is products out there that use beef fat or sheep fat, and this is probably the most popular one because it is in the name, Mitchell's Wool Fat Shaving Soap. This has been around since 1893, originally designed for sheep herders to keep their hand moisturized and creamy and soft and supple. And I really like this product. I know Doug may not like it, but it's very popular.
I like Mitchell's Wool Fat. However, it's not a wool fat.
It is with lanolin.
Yeah, it's made with lanolin. It's not a fat.
Okay.
But it's just a misconception again, or it's just a
Well, where does
misnomer.
lanolin come from?
Where's the word come
No,
from?
lanolin. Where does lanolin come from? If not sheep.
It comes from the wool. It comes from they call it wool grease or wool, but it's more of like a wax.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
It repels water and so on and so forth. But yeah,
I love it. I've used it in the past. It's very creamy. It is, this particular brand is sometimes a little tricky to get just the right consistency between water and product.
yeah. Well, it does contain tallow also.
Right.
So we should, a lot of times people get tallow and lanolin confused, and tallow is a rendered beef fat. So you got
That's
two
what I was
animals
thinking of.
going on in there. But yeah, no, Mitchell's Wool Fat it's a classic.
Right.
When there was no one doing it anymore, they were still doing it.
And yeah, back in the 60s, you had Burma Shave with lanolin in there, also for kind of moisturizing properties.
Yeah, so it was used in a lot. I mean, lanolin, tallow. Tallow was a byproduct of the meat industry, a lot like a lot of these other products are byproducts of the meat industry. Tallow was originally used for candles. It was just cheaper to use than wax.
Interesting.
So, we just had so much tallow in the industry back in the day.
It's kind of like glue. Got a lot of
Kind of like
hooves.
sniffing glue.
No, the
Oh,
hooves.
right. Sorry, I was projecting. But yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
but
what
a lot of
tallow is. It was a byproduct of the industry. It was super cheap. A lot of these soap companies were like, well, why not? It's so cheap. We're going to put it in there. It works. It does what we want it to do. So that's why it's used. A lot of traditionalists, however, think that it's the best ingredient on the planet, and I have to disagree. As a soap maker, chemically it's not. I mean, we're using it for the stearic acid, and stearic acid is stearic acid. I don't care where it's derived from, either plant-based or the animal. But that's another story for another time.
Well, yeah, I bet I've used a lot of shaving soaps over the years from different makers, artisans, big companies, and I think that should try to categorize them by the kind of fat they have in them, whether it's plant or animal based. I don't really even think about it. I think there are some benefits of it.
Recipe. It's the
Yeah.
recipe at the end of the day.
Yeah, you may just like that
there's
because
good
it's
tallow
fat.
soaps. There's crappy tallow
Yeah,
soaps.
exactly.
There's good vegan soaps. There's crappy vegan soaps. It really comes down to the recipe at the end of the day.
There you
but
go.
but people can put it in their heads like placebo. You can set something up
Of
for
course.
failure if you have that in your mind. But again, it's
Well,
traditionalists
it's
that
the
don't
same-
know what they're talking about.
It's the same thing why, most wet shavers like we encounter in our lobby or on the phone are always like, I need a badger brush. And I'm like,
Yeah.
hold on, don't rule out a $10 boar brush because you can get an amazing shave with this.
Yeah.
So, okay, so moving along, we talked about soaps.
Don't rush me. Don't rush me.
So don't rush me. I made that mistake before.
Okay.
Okay, rush me.
So, in the world of straight razors, a lot of products have the animal derivatives. So this is, of course, a strop. This is made of horsehide. We get this horsehide from Chicago, but Chicago gets it from, Italy and Spain. And again, this horsehide, these are not horses that are out running around, in the fields and someone wrangles them just for their hides. These are being raised and bred for their meat in Europe, and then the hides are just a byproduct.
What does horse taste like? Don't say chicken. Don't say chicken.
Just try any dog food. Most dog food's made of horse meat. So I don't know. I've never had it. But I love horse hides for strops. I think it's my absolute favorite stropping surface. And I think if you look back, a lot of the old Russian strops from the turn of the century were always horsehide, cordovan, stuff like that. They were
So do Russians eat horses?
maybe. I don't know. We'll have to ask somebody who's Russian.
If you're Russian and watching right now, please leave a comment below.
Could be a Russian conspiracy if they eat horses or not.
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah. So moving along, another, this is a little practice strop we make, and this is cowhide. So much like the other products, here in America, we do eat a lot of cows. We're very happy to eat cows. No one has a problem with it, apparently.
I don't eat cows.
Well,
and I have a problem with it.
you also dress like that. But leather has a lot of uses, and for strops, latigo, English bridle, they're all cow hides. Speaking of cows, one other very common use in the history of shaving for cattle has been their bones, and that is what we see most times when you see old straight razors like these. This is actually a 7-day set. I'm looking at looks like Saturday maybe, Thursday, Thursday. But we're looking at a 7-day set, and all of these have the same handle, and they are all from probably more or less a cow bone. Sometimes there's a confusion with is it bone, is it ivory, is it horn? We don't always know. I can tell you that a lot of times the black horn, if it has grain in it, like an old Wade and Butcher straight razor, those are certainly horn. Those come from India, the water, the water buffaloes.
Everybody's got a water buffalo. Yours is fast, but mine is slow.
Have the big black horns. They also have blonde horn that looks very similar. But a lot of this that's not transparent, like the blonde horn's transparent, but this is actually like a white creamy color.
Looks like plastic.
Yeah, it's bone. But you can do a test if you have a concern, if you're wondering about it. You can take like a thumbtack and heat it up with like a lighter, and you can put it in a nondescript place and kind of try to put a heated thumbtack. And if it goes and kind of melts the surface, plastic. If it actually singes it and burns it, it's obviously bone.
Similar to the Bakelite test.
Pretty much, yeah. And to tell if it's bone or ivory, I'll be really honest, I don't know if anyone can really tell a major difference. Sometimes you can look at the veins or the pattern, but
a sailor could tell the difference.
Yeah, most of this straight razor stuff was all just bones, but very cool nonetheless. Another part of shaving history.
Animal shaving history.
On our safari. All right, so we are gonna do a search.
I can't see a thing.
We'll take the lens cap off.
No lens cap.
But all right, so we are going to put the myth to the test that we can actually discern just from feel what kind of brushes these are.
As professionals in the wet shaving industry, we're pretty sure that we can tell by touch alone, through calloused fingers, that we, and only us, will be able to tell you, and only you, exactly what the bristles on the brush are made from.
Shouldn't you be like in a musical somewhere?
I am in a musical somewhere. Well, it was a part in the play I had.
What kind of play?
All right, guys. I want you to find the horsehair brush.
Okay, and go?
Go.
All right, horsehair.
Get in there.
Oh, my...
No.
Wait, we're both doing this together?
No. No. Wait. No.
Well, if he finds it before me, then I'll know which...
Oh, I feel your fuzzy fingers in here.
I don't have fuzzy fingers. I shave every day.
Wait. I think I found it.
There it is.
Wait, can I... Now see, I was looking for this because horsehair has a tendency to get nappy and happy, and donut especially, unless you choose to comb it after each use.
Highly recommend that.
Yeah, a little tip for you out there. Rub a little bit of conditioner after you, once a week through this, but always comb it after you use it each day, and you'll never get these little tangles or donuts happening. That's what I was looking for, because I noticed you had it on yours. But
yes.
Okay, what's next?
Find a synthetic knot.
Go for it. I mean, like you're like a
Found
kid
one.
at Christmas.
Oh, no.
Are we doing that again?
We are. Season 2, and I'm still a schmo.
I would say that's Badger. Hold on. Let me try to find a...
Wait, did you...
Is there more than one in here? Like, is there a second synthetic for me to find?
Yes.
Okay. Well, fair enough. Hold on. You already found yours. Let me find mine.
Yeah, but this is...
You were the kid at Halloween that would take more than one piece of candy, wouldn't you?
Do I look like I was the kid at Halloween?
Head on down to Biker Bob's for a spooky Halloween this Saturday before Halloween.
Kind of.
I do actually look like you.
It could be this. No, that feels like a badger. Not.
I'm saying it's this.
Yeah, Doug found it again.
Oh!
No.
No. See, you're not allowed to do it. You always make it cheap.
It's not that expensive.
All right, guys, a little bit tougher. Find the super fine badger knot.
Oh.
Oh!
Super fine. One of these industry terms again.
Sells a lot of brushes.
Is it a knot or is it a brush?
She can't tell you that.
Both.
I'd say this one.
Nope.
I would say this one.
Nope.
I'd say this old school one.
Nope.
What would this old
I'd
school
say
one's
this
really nice,
one.
though.
Are you kidding?
I can't feel anything at this point. Oh, this feels like a bower.
That feels like super fine. No? Huh?
Confirm?
SF?
Nope.
She's gotten louder.
Well, she has a loud mic.
Great! We should also mention that if you're thinking of vending these, you might need a license, game and wildlife license
Yes.
to ship these.
I think we've taken them all out at this point. It's not this one. This feels too stiff.
This does too. Punchy.
Marissa, help? No?
Wait, is it a knot? Did I already pull this up before?
It's this one.
Ah! No, 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 no.
Wait, did you get it?
Yeah, I got it. Hey, high five. Ready? Yeah.
This is dumb.
So do you guys
You're
think
dumb.
that there's a major difference between the
Well-
High Mountain White knot in there and the super fine knot that's in there and the silver tip brush and the pure badger brush?
I think with all the... can we take the blindfold off yet?
No.
Okay. I think with all these brushes, I think Doug would agree, you have to really break them in to really see these differences with the Badger grades. I think right off the top, they're all kind of stiff. I think they soften up over time.
Punchy.
Yeah.
How's the aftershave treating you?
I love it. I'm actually really enjoying this.
Yeah, no, it really is. Yardley Black Label, folks. I mean, if you haven't tried this classic, please do. Do yourself a favor. It really is a classic. I love it. It's just a classic barbershop. Again,
it's put me like in the mood, this whole vintage,
Yeah.
safari thing, the old brushes and stuff.
yeah.
I like it.
We're going to have to drop the Monkeys commercial in here at some point.
You're a monkey.
Thank you. Okay, what are we doing?
All right. Well,
Wait, we done with the game?
the game's over.
There was no bar or horse or...
I found the horse.
Oh.
You found the horse. I found the horse. Boar's easy. It's so stiff.
Unless it's broken in. But even then, it's still got some great backbone, I find anyways.
Yes.
But you know what? There was one time, and I might have spoken of this in
Can I
the
take
past.
this off now?
But Crabtree and Evelyn, I had this great boar brush. It was vintage. It was such a great brush. Again, great on the face, great in a bowl. It just was had so many uses and felt great. I was like, I need to stock up on this. I need to see if I can find another vintage model of this, which I did. However, totally different feel. Vintage products.
Yep.
You never know what you're gonna get.
I love Crabtree and Evelyn, and I also have loved today's episode of Shave Safari and all the brushes. We'll see you next time on I'd Rather Be Shaving.